What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the rePORTER Show. It's your host, Justin Porter. As always, I want to welcome my co-hosts, Devin Acosta and Josh Tucker. Winter and spring sports coming together gives us a lot to cover, so we're going to try to compact it as best we can, but we also want to get a touch on all the games so don't nobody feel left out. So we're going to try to make this one quick, but also very informative of all the games that went on this past week. First, of course, we're going to start out with men's basketball. Men's basketball opened up against Oklahoma City. They shot the ball exceptionally well. I don't think they could have played that game any better. They were 50% from the field, 41% from the three. The only thing that they did not do is we didn't hit our free throws. I think we was like 40% or something from the free throw line, and I'm like, hey, that's supposed to be the highest percentage. Like, what's going on?
We got to clean that up, man. We got to clean that up.
Yeah, but I mean, outside of that, like I said, they did everything right. We had 4 guys in double digits. Michael and Tajay both had 17. Brett had 13, and Rodney had 12. And because of the first half, we jumped out, I think, to like a 14 or 16-point lead or something like that. It says right here 19-point lead. So at the largest, we had a 19-point lead, I believe, going into the half. And so they outscored us in the second half by like 2 points, but it don't matter when you up that far in the first half. So that was a blowout. I think we won that game 85-68. What did you guys see from that game?
I don't know, man. Yeah, like you said, we start off a little bit flat, but then we had about 15 minutes left in the half. We went on a run, got it up to 14, and then eventually 19 right before the half. But I don't know, I think it was good, but it's one of those games where, like, I think great teams would have just went ahead and beat them by 40. You know what I'm saying? So we, in the locker room, that was kind of the vibe. It was like, well, we'll take a conference win, but, like, we really shouldn't have got outscored by 2 the second half either. So we should have played 2 good halves of basketball instead of 1. But you really can't complain about a double-digit win in conference, man. Those wins are hard to get by. So that's what I thought about it. And I guess we'll take that any day for sure.
Absolutely. What about you, Dev?
It kind of goes along with what Tuck said. I mean, ugly win way better than a pretty loss.
Yeah.
I'll take an ugly win any day.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you said, we need 2 good halves of basketball, full 40 minutes.
Facts.
I feel like that against other teams in the conference, especially with how close the conference is, how close the running is, we can't afford to play like that against other teams.
And I think, if it comes down to tiebreakers and these split games, it goes to point differential, if I'm not mistaken. So
you want to have that.
So you want to win. Like, if you can win by 40, bro, you got to win by 40.
Yeah,
but either way, man, I thought we played a lot better offensively, moving the ball. And OCU's a talented team, but they got 2 or 3 guys that average like 12 plus, I think. So, they got some talent. And I thought we played defense for the most part pretty good as a team. We had some slip-ups in the second half, myself included. But like I said, we'll take a double-digit win any chance we get. So,
I hear that. And speaking of that, talking about tight run-ins with the games and the standings and coming down to the end of the conference and where we're going to stand in that, I think what we did the following day on that Saturday really helped us out. We had John Brown, which I believe was right there behind us or right there with us in the standings for conference. And so that was a game that we definitely needed to win, especially after we lost to them earlier in the year off of that buzzer beater, which was a little that was a little hurt right there. Yeah. And so we came out hot, shooting very well. I think maybe we had that in the back of our mind, like, we're not going to let that happen again. And so for that first half, we were shooting 52% from the field. So couldn't ask for nothing better than that. Couldn't ask for a better start. We jumped out to an early lead. Michael had 12 points at the half, shooting 71% from the field. So he was leading the way, leading the charge a little bit in that first half. And we only had 3 turnovers. So that was a great adjustment from what we did in the previous week.
Facts.
So that was really good to see. I think we only had 8 in the entire game, so that was phenomenal. I mean, I'm pretty sure Coach probably was on y'all about that.
He was.
So they handled their business this week, man. They got their 2 wins. I think in that second half, DeMichael sort of took over. That was sort of his show. He went 9 for 9 from the field. Ended up, he had 18 points in the second half, but he ended up in the game 11 for 11 with 22 points and 6 rebounds. And so he had a perfect game.
To me, that was good to see, because if you look at D-Mike, like, compared to last year, he hadn't been playing, in my opinion, the same way he did last year. And I thought that might have been eating at him a little bit. He's having struggles from the line as well over these past few games. But seeing that, 11 for 11.
Yeah.
That's that D-Mike I know.
22 and 6, man. That's vintage D-Mike. And as far as his struggles go, man, I wouldn't some of it he hasn't hit shots that he usually does, and so we're fine with him taking them. But a lot of it, man, we just earlier in the season, really up to these past few weeks, we haven't been moving the ball as well, man. He's getting. I mean, we looked at it. He's getting about half the touches he was last year. Until these last few weeks, he's been getting a few more. But I mean, when he's just not, when we don't establish him in the offense early, it's just hard for him to get going because he's one of those guys, man. He gets first 6-8 points of the game almost every time. Yeah, and then once he gets the energy going, that's when he starts making these big defensive plays like blocks and just steals, stuff like that. So I think we got to move the ball and start to feed him early, and we did that against John Brown, especially second half, early in the second half, and we see what happened. I mean, 22-6, 11 for 11. That's the type of player he is. So
on top of it, I mean, when you do start to establish that dominant presence in the paint, easy work inside out.
Facts.
Inside out from there.
That's correct, man. And because of that, D Mike, you gonna be a certified nominee this week. I would have gave it to you automatically, but you already know who did what they did
man.
after that. So it's going to be a little competition between y'all this week, so we're going to let the students vote on that one. But I'm glad to see that you win 11 for 11, man. That's a really good showing. And like we said, that's something that we like to see from the big guy, man. That's something that we really need in an offense. If you don't have no presence in the paint, it's really hard for you to establish the game.
It is.
And so that was really good to see. We got 2 dubs. I definitely think that separated us from some teams in the conference. I don't know exactly where we stand quite yet, but I'm finna check it right now because I got the laptop with me. Standings for basketball, we are in 4th. We were in 5th last week when we checked it, so now we're in 4th, and we are right there with Science and Arts at 11-5, who we are playing this weekend. So that's going to be another good matchup that we really got to have. So we'll get into that later on. And then I believe there's only 3 other teams above us. Langston they sort of made their way out of reach. But MacU and Southwestern Assemblies of God are definitely still within reach of if we win the rest of our games. So let me go ahead and jump straight into women's basketball, man. Their game against Oklahoma City was canceled. They had too many players that were sick, so they weren't able to compete. So all we got for Saturday, or this past Saturday, is the men's game. I mean, the women's game was 1 game against John Brown last week. And that was a game that I was looking forward to, not only because they were undefeated in conference, but also because the last time we played them, we got thrashed. I'm not gonna lie to you. They handled their business, and they just kicked us out their gym pretty much. I mean, it was a tough one to see, tough one to watch. And it wasn't a score that I expected. I know they're a dominant team, but I didn't think that they would handle us in that way. So this game was really important for us to come out hot and ready to go, and we didn't do that. The first quarter was a pretty rough start, to say the least. We couldn't hit a shot for anything. I don't know what it was. At one point, I believe it was 2-20, and so I've noticed that in the past couple of games. I don't know, 3-4 games. The first quarter is just like
we still in the locker room.
Yeah, bro.
You still stuck in the locker room. You don't get going, and that hurts.
Yeah.
Especially with these games that we've lost, that are 2-point games or 3 or 4, whatever the case may be.
That first
if we don't dig that hole at the beginning, that's a 15-point win.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. And, man, our girls are they're so talented, and they can heat up so fast. You hate to see them go down double digits early because, man, they can get out of almost any situation, but don't even put yourself in it. You know what I'm saying?
That's the thing. Like, both of y'all put it right there. If you don't put yourself in that position to begin with, a lot of these games are handled easily. And especially against a team that not only are they top ranked in the conference, they're nationally ranked at 16th. And so that would have been a really nice win on the schedule. And we definitely could have did it. Once we get into the rest of this game, you guys will be able to see that we definitely could have did it. But I think that we just, like you said, we didn't come out hot, we didn't come out ready, and we also didn't come out playing confident. I feel like we were hesitant to take shots, or if we were taking shots, we weren't trusting our shot. We were just like, oh, I hope this one go in. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And so, just doing your thing, just going with the flow. And so because of that, we were 28% from the field and 8% from the 3. Forcing shots, playing nervous. We were down 14 at the half. I believe it was 24-38, and that was rough to see. That was really rough to see. But Coach Cooper, I don't know what he said at halftime, I really don't know what he could have said. I don't know what he did, but they came out in that second half and they was ready to go. The halftime adjustments was really key in this game. That was really one of the most exciting comebacks that I have seen in a long time. To be down 20-2 at one point in the first quarter and then being down 14 at the half and then making it a game in that second half.
They battled.
It was really a game. Let me break this down to y'all, and then I'm gonna let them give their commentary on this. But in the third quarter, we outscored John Brown 19-10, shooting 47% from the field and 33% from the three. And then we continued playing well in the fourth, outscoring them as well, 17-14. We had a lot of key shots that were made, some defensive stops. They seemed like they were on the clock every time, just trying to jack up a shot.
Get something up.
And so I don't know what you said, Coach, but you might need to tell them that at the first quarter.
He said the right thing.
He said the right thing. So y'all go ahead and give me a little feel of what y'all saw in that second half from them.
Man, first off, John Brown is a juggernaut. I ain't gonna lie, bro. Them girls, they move the ball. All 5 of them can shoot the lights out, especially number 30. Man, she shoot from wherever she wants to. So when you get down big early to a team like that, it's very easy to just throw the white towel in and say we're done. But so I'm gonna give credit to our girls and obviously Coach Cooper, man. That second half, they were flying around, getting stops, getting easy buckets. So man, I was glad to see it. Obviously, I wish they could have pulled it out, and they were right there, had a chance to do it. But man, they battled that second half. I'll give it to them.
What you got?
I mean, Josh for the perfect again, you know, especially when you go down to a team like that, and especially with what they've done to you before, like how that last game went. This game starts off like how it is. Like I commend them for fighting back the way that they did, bringing the energy back into the game, back into the team, and really clawing back. I think the end of that game was a little questionable with that last call. With that last call, that last call was kind of. It was frustrating to see. It was frustrating to see, especially after that very clutch shot by Linda. And I mean, we've seen that before.
Yeah. Speaking of that, let's go ahead and check the highlights out, man. I'm gonna show y'all the last couple of minutes of this fourth quarter. So let's go ahead and check it out. Started it out early with Taylor Houston. Then Linda came down, hit a big three. We kept it going with Taylor Houston again down in the paint. I know we talked about her getting more involved in the game, and so that was really good to see as well. Then Marshall came in with the and one, hard little finish.
Well, her numbers call, she steps up.
Yeah, she definitely does.
She do.
And you already know who this is. Megan coming in, doing her thing.
22.
Yeah, 21 and 22. Hit the and one, and we had some more free throws.
Her percentage is going up from the line
yeah,
too.
definitely. And then
She's been working.
here we go here. There's Megan again. Got it back to within 2. Then right here, Linda
Get to
her spot. Exactly. Every time.
Nice.
Makes that, converts it. Then we got this questionable foul. That was the end of the game. As y'all can see, I don't see what she really did there.
That wasn't even a shot attempt, bro.
Yeah,
Like,
let me say a couple things about this. For one, shout out to Linda. I say that because the first half was rough. A lot of players have those games where you just not feeling like yourself. You're struggling to have that confidence in your abilities, and a lot of the times you don't see a lot of athletes bounce back from that within that one game. She came out the second half.
She did.
And she didn't care nothing about what she did in the first half, but she came back in the second half and did her part.
That's
she
how you
has,
move on.
yeah. That's a big player right there.
I agree.
That's called a dog mentality. You know what I'm saying? I call it that because most players in that situation, they give up on themselves.
I agree.
That's one thing I'm gonna say about Linda, bro. Love it or hate it, she don't care how many shots she missed.
Yeah.
She'll go 0 for 30 before she'll go. You know what I'm saying? She won't stop at 0 for 10.
Yeah.
And you can say that's a bad trait, but in my opinion, man, that's a trait somebody on the team gotta have, and especially her being the primary ball handler or starter. I love that she has that mentality, man, because she don't care about missed shots. No. She missed one, the next one's going in her head. So, man, I just love to see that she was 1 for 9 at the half, came out the second half, still letting it go, and started to see him fall. So, man, that's a Linda. I'm glad you stepped up as well. Marshall too. I want to give Marshall her props, man. She been in and out the rotation. Big time game, gets a #1 team in conference. Her name gets called early, and she was balling as well. So I think them too, man. They showed us that they can really play. They can play with the best of them.
And I think with that, along with that, it's really good to have a player that has that mentality because it can feed into the rest of your team. If the team is looking to you to do what you do at the one, especially at the point guard position, or if you just even at a guard position, the one or the two, and you're not being able to perform at the way that they expect you to, and you give up on yourself, now that changes the offense. That changes the way that the rest of your team is playing on the court. So for you to come back out in the second half and come out there and say, I don't care nothing about what just went down in that first half, as a team and individually, I'm going to come out here and do what I'm supposed to do, that's big ups.
Facts.
I like to see that. Only other thing I had to say about them highlights that we just watched, even though that I don't believe that was a foul, my only question is, why was she taking her from the top of the key in that scenario? Because when you think about it, if that is her assignment, I would honestly switch her down to whoever is down in the paint and just let her be there for when they do come down to the paint.
You talking about Megan?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. Like, why is she guarding?
Why is she guarding her from the? You know, I didn't really understand that move.
I agree. Maybe, I don't know. I probably have to see the play again, but maybe they weren't trying to switch and have any miscommunication because there's all such good shooters. So maybe it would have been like, I don't know, a late switch. One of those girls gets open, they gonna hit it. So maybe that's my only guess. But yeah, that's a good question. I mean, Megan is a capable defender, but I agree with you. Why not just switch it, leave her down, and let her just block shots? But maybe they didn't want a miscue and get a wide open three. That's my guess. I didn't think it was a foul though either way.
No. I didn't think it was a foul at all, but that was my only question. And I know, sometimes it just happens that way. You can't really control all of that.
In the heat of
but
the moment.
especially in the heat of the moment, you can't really control what's going on. You just do what you're supposed to do.
Facts.
But I was questioning that because I was like, well, if she was at the bottom of the key, she probably wouldn't have had to move so much.
True.
You know what I'm saying? If you moving along with her, especially in this league, these refs be looking for everything. You know what I'm saying? They call just a little bit of everything. And so I think it would have been a little bit easier for her to come out of the paint and contest that shot straight up rather than running with her. You know what I'm saying?
True.
But at the end of the day, we ended up losing that game 60-62. But I like the fight. I just got to say, y'all got to come out in that first quarter with the same mentality that you got when y'all are making those comebacks late in the game. That's going to help you win a lot more games and separate yourself from a good team and a great team.
I agree. I like what I see from them, though.
Yeah.
I'm liking what I'm seeing.
Absolutely. And so, before we go on to the next subject, I got to say it. Megan ended up 9 for 14, 22 points, 21 rebounds.
Good Lord, bro. Megan is a machine.
Yeah, bro. Another 2020 game. I think that I ain't going back all the way to the beginning of Wayland Flying Queens basketball, but I would believe that she's probably had the most 2020 games in Flying. It's got to be.
She's on a tear, bro.
And so, props to you. So you and D-Mike are up on the board for certified nominees
That's
this
a hard,
week.
man. That's a hard decision
That's gonna
too.
be a hard
I
vote.
want to vote for D-Mike, but 22 and 21.
Yeah, bro.
I mean,
All right, we gonna put them on the board. We gonna let the fans decide, bro. But we gonna go ahead and hop into this next subject, baseball, man. They headed to San Antonio. Or is it Houston?
San Antonio.
San Antonio. Okay, so they headed to San Antonio to face off against Our Lady of the Lake. In that first game, we started out early, but it was more of a stalemate still, just like the past week, I believe, where pitchers were just doing their thing. We didn't score a lot of runs. The only run that we did have was Riley tripled to left field, then he scored on a pass ball to start us off in the top of the third. And then they came back and scored 2 unearned runs on errors, making it 1-2. Now, speaking of that, before we go into the rest of that game, that goes back to what I said last week on the importance of having almost a perfect game in a way, defensively. When you give up unearned runs, it hurts more than when they just get the runs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because you think to yourself, well, if we didn't give those unearned runs up, it'd still be a tie ball game.
Yeah.
You know, and it hurts to see it from that standpoint. But at the end of the day, you're never going to play a perfect game. So sometimes you got to live with the mistakes.
You got to live with the results. Yeah.
And so they scored another run in the bottom of the 6th after a triple and a sac fly, which made it 3-1. And that was the end of the game pretty much. We ended up losing that one 1-3. Potts was our pitcher. He gave up 3 runs, 2 unearned on 6 hits, 1 walk, and 5 Ks through 6 innings. So he had a pretty solid game. He had a solid outing. That was a game that honestly probably would have went into extra innings if it wasn't for that early on little mishap that we had in the early on innings that gave up those 2 unearned runs. And so that was a tough one to lose, but it'll be all right. That second game that we had, we finally came out hot, on fire, swinging the bats, going crazy. Axel started out the game with a triple to left field. Felix scored him with a sac fly to left field. Delvis got himself in the scoring position. And Frosto, which they call him Memo, so I'm going to call him Memo because I like calling him Memo, scored him on with the RBI single up the middle. And then after a walking two high hit by pitches, Memo made his way to home easily. And so Riley came in, single to left field again, scoring one run. And then we grounded it into a double play after that, making it 4-0 right off the bat. And so we jumped out to an early lead, and we sort of held on to it until the end of the game, ended up winning 7-1. Riley was a big factor in that one, had a lot of RBIs. I think he had a 2 RBI single later in that game, and he also had an RBI earlier on in that game. So he had 3 RBIs. So he had tested for 3 of the 7 runs that we got across that game. And Siebert, which was our pitcher, had 0 runs on 2 hits, 2 walks, 3 Ks through 5 innings. And so that was really good to see. Wellington was the starter for that game, but he had 4 walks and 3 hit by pitches. And all I had to say about that is, in his past 2 outings as a starter, he struggled. And I know sometimes it takes a little time for you to settle in. But as a pitcher, there's a lot of different roles that you take on. You could be a starter, you could be a reliever, or you could be a closer. And in each one of those roles, you have a different preparation. If you're a starter, you always know that you head to the field a couple hours early. You getting your mind right, getting ready for the game. You coming out there and you starting, and you're expected to go as long as you can go. A reliever is going to be that guy that you call up as soon as your starter gets in trouble. And a closer, you want him to shut the game down for 1 inning or 2 innings if he has to. So I think that maybe his role might not be a starting pitcher because he has a lot of velocity, 91 and 93. Ooh. At the NAIA level, that's really good. That's really good speed. And so he could be a closer. He could be a dominant closer. If you got a guy that's just going to come in, get some heat, get 3 quick outs, call it a day. That's over with. He could be a reliever. He could be a long reliever. Whatever it is, I think that at that point where you see that he's struggling to take on that role of being a starter, he can still dominate taking on another role. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that with that moving forward, they're definitely going to have to take a look at that, because if you got a guy that's coming in and he's starting the game off rough, it's hard for your team. You know, you don't want to put your team in a hole every time they step out on the field at the beginning of a game. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm glad to see that Siebert came in and he handled business the rest of the way, and we got that first win of the season, 7-1. Game 3 was the same as game 1. Stalemate. Juan was pitching. He had 3 runs on 5 hits, 1 walk, and 6 Ks through 6 innings. He controlled the game very well. At the bottom of the 4th, they put some hits together to score a couple runs. Top 5, we had a chance to tie back up. Samuel doubled, then Riley drove him in on a single to left field. And then Riley ended up on second with 1 out, but we failed to move him over, didn't score him. And then the top of the 6th, we had bases loaded with 1 out and did not score 1 run. That's the same thing I said last week. That hurts, bro.
You gotta capitalize, man. You gotta capitalize.
You got bases loaded with 1 out. You telling me somebody didn't step up to the plate and said, maybe I'm going to lay a bunt down, or maybe I'm going to just poke it to this side of the field. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you got to lay down your own thinking of, I want to get a hit, to just, I got to score these runs. True. Any way that I can do it. And so if you think to yourself that I can bunt safely enough to get this guy in, I'm going to drop down the bunt. If I can't bunt that well, then I'm going to just try to poke this to the right side. I got to move these runs. Whatever you got to do to get yourself in the mindset to move these runners over, you got to do it.
You got to do it.
You got to do it.
Do you know if we got struck out or if we popped out? Or
I think,
I guess.
Let me see. I can't remember. I can't remember, honestly. I think we might have rode into a double play. Which hurts even more.
That would hurt. Yeah, that would hurt.
But I was talking to some of the guys, and they said it's been a couple of times where they've had bases loaded, and they just couldn't scratch a run.
Man, base loaded, you got to be licking your chops going up to bat, man.
You do.
That's when you really can get aggressive, especially with only 1 out. And that's you got to go for it.
Big time moment. A lot of them players need, like I said last week, to get more minutes, to get more playing time, and show what they can do.
I think it comes down to your mentality. As a hitter, a lot of times when you step up to the plate, you want to be a hero. You want to hit the home run. You want to hit the triple down the line that scores all the runs. And that's cool. But sometimes you got to cut down your role and just do what the team needs you to do.
Yeah, just get the job done.
You know what I'm saying? Just get the job done. And so if you're not getting the job done, buddy, you gotta rethink how you step up to the plate. Because baseball is a mental game. You can have all the talent in the world. If you ain't mentally prepared to go out there and do what you're supposed to do, you ain't gonna do it.
Yeah, you're in trouble.
You know what I'm saying?
Trouble.
And so we came back in game 4, handled business. Polanco, who does everything. He plays first base, third base, left field, and he pitches. So that's a weapon to have on the team.
Play.
Yeah, exactly. He gave up 1 run on 4 hits, 1 walk, and 6 Ks through 5 2/3. And so it was another stalemate for most of the game. They scored the first run in the bottom of the second after stringing together a couple hits, but after that they did not score again. We got on the board and we kept it on them. It was 6-1 at the end of that game. And so that was lovely to see. We had guys hitting across the board, scoring runs when we needed to. We got runners in scoring position off a couple of their errors, but we also capitalized on that as well. And so that's always good to see. Grayson came in to pitch after Polanco, and Liam came in after him to close out that game. And so they split the weekend 2-2. What I would say about that is it's a blessing and a curse to have a lot of good hitters, because you can put in guys if somebody ain't hitting, and you never feel like, okay, I don't have nobody else to pull from.
Oh, okay.
But it's also a curse because baseball, you need more ABs to get in your rhythm. You know what I'm saying? So let's say you go a game and you go 0-2 that first game and you back on the bench, somebody else already in. And let's say they go 0-2 and they back on the bench and somebody else in. Now at this point, ain't nobody building a rhythm.
Yeah, nobody got any momentum.
Yeah, nobody has no momentum. Nobody has a rhythm. Nobody's seen it multiple times. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you got to stick with your starting 9 and let them roll out. You know what I'm saying? I understand if somebody get up there and they 0-3 with 3 Ks. Okay, buddy, you got to sit down. I get that.
Next to me.
Yeah, I get that. But sometimes you got to let them play the game and see what happens with those 8 guys in the line or 9 guys in the lineup, and just let it happen. Because if you keep switching in, keep switching out, sometimes it messes with them, not only mentally, but rhythm. They ain't got no rhythm because they see in a picture and now they on the bench again. Then maybe they'll get back in, maybe they'll pinch hit, maybe they'll do something, and it messes with you mentally a lot. And so you got to let those guys stick it out and let them figure it out sometimes. And but I'm just glad to see that they came away with a 2-2 weekend.
2-2.
Got the first 2 dubs, and I hope they can keep it going this weekend. They'll be facing off against Tabor. Now, I know I'm coming close on time, so we're going to try to get to softball really quick. Softball. It was a great show out from the students.
It was rocking. I ain't gonna lie,
I will say that. I like to see the fact that the students showed up to the game. Everybody was supporting, and I love to see that because, like I said in the very beginning episodes, it's always a blessing to have other people support you. You know, to have your team, your school, your peers, everybody showing up to the game, it gives you some extra energy. You know what I'm saying? It's always different when you look in the stands and you see some full stands, packed out stands, and you look in the stands and you don't see nobody.
It gives you something to play for more.
It does. It definitely does, man. And so I know y'all was out there. Y'all checked out a couple of the softball games. That first game was really competitive. We had a little rain delay going on in there, so that dwindled down some of the energy.
Thanks.
But we got ourselves out of a jam in the first inning. The bases was loaded, and they only scored 1 run. So that was a good job on Clarissa. She was the pitcher in the first couple of innings. The bottom first, we got off to a great start. After hitting the walk, Brooklyn drove in 2 runs with a double to right field and then scored herself. And after 2 wild pitches, making it 3-1. But they came back swinging. They hit a solo home run and then they hit a 3-run shot to make it 5-3. Then they pushed across another run to make it 6-3. We scored a couple more runs, but we ended up losing that game 5-7. But Clarissa Rahino gave up 6 runs on 8 hits, 5 walks, and 5 Ks through 3 1/3. Addie Rich came in and gave up 1 run on 3 hits, no walks, 1 K through 3 2/3. And so I think they ran into a team that's just really good offensively.
Yeah, Wesleyan, Oklahoma Wesleyan, I mean, I was talking to D-Mike, obviously he dates Brooklyn, and he was telling me they're a nationally ranked team every year, so that's not a bad outing when you're playing, a top-ranked team, your first ever game.
Yeah.
So.
I think it was tough because not only were they just dominant offensively, it was hard to make some adjustments. There was a lot of pitches for our pitcher that I felt like he was squeezing her a little bit. And when I say squeezing her, that just means like they making the strike zone a little bit smaller than it should be. Maybe she didn't get a strike call higher up at the chest. Maybe she didn't get a strike call lower at the knees. He making her throw in that one little spot. So of course they probably gonna smoke it if she got one little spot to throw it to. And so I think it was really just about adjustments. Sometimes you gotta block out the fact that the blue ain't giving you no call. Sometimes you gotta change your mentality and be like, okay, what is he giving me?
True.
I'm gonna keep hitting that spot if I can work that spot. And on top of that, hitting the ball, for the rest of that series, we ended up losing 1-15 game 2, game 3, 4-12, and game 4, 1-10. The rest of that series, of course, like I said, they're a really good hitting team. But for us, from our standpoint, I think that we struggled to make the adjustments mentally as the game was going on, because there was a lot of pitches that we were swinging at that weren't strikes, and then we were looking at the pitches that were strikes. And so it's about pitch selection, you know what I'm saying? You got to pick your pitch and hit that and let that be that. You can't hit everything. That's not the game.
You can't.
You cannot hit the whole box. You got to pick your favorite spot and go with it, unless you got 2 strikes on you and you fighting. It's a lot easier to hit one spot than trying to hit everything. And so I think it's about pitch selection. You got to change up your mindset as the game goes on. If you see that you're struggling, you got to tell yourself, all right, calm down. I can't hit the whole plate.
Facts.
I got to figure out what's working for me and make that happen. And so the opposing team, they went 12 of 28 in that game too, with a 429 batting average, which is elite.
Man, that's pretty good. Yeah.
That's elite. 500 batting average is unheard of by a team. Maybe a player in one game, maybe he goes 2 for 4, but by a team, it's ridiculous. We got swept on the weekend, but I think that with that, if they make those adjustments and they bounce back from it, I think they'll be all right.
I think so too.
We got a long season.
And part of that might be, you got to shake off the dust. Like,
that's
their first.
Yeah, they probably
out of
nervous.
the team. I know them nerves was high. Like,
there's a lot of people there, but
exactly.
We're going to stick with the softball team now. They're fun to watch from what I saw. And they're just getting going, so I still think they got a long season ahead of them.
Absolutely. It was definitely a fun game to watch. So I'm happy to see that y'all got out there and y'all was competing, man. So hopefully next time y'all are out here, it's definitely a better game for us to come out there, and hopefully y'all get y'all's first dubs. Maybe y'all get y'all first dub this week before y'all even come back. So I'm not gonna say that. I'm gonna say y'all already gonna have some dubs next time the fans come out there. The first home dubs next time y'all come out there. But let's go ahead and jump into women's wrestling. They went out to Des Moines, Iowa at the Grandview Open, and that was a very big tournament. D1, D2, D3, didn't matter what you was entering into it, and you was gonna face off against everybody. And we had 2 that placed in the top 3. Adelie Cruz placed 3rd at 101, and Leilani Sanchez placed 3rd at 235. So that's big props to y'all. I'm sorry that we don't have no highlights or anything like that. It's really hard to get a hold of those things, but we're going to clap it up for y'all because y'all definitely did something big. If you facing off against some other folks that's not in your own division and you still place a 3rd, big ups to you. So let's go ahead and do these outros to close this one out, man. Of course, we got homecoming coming up next week. Next week, I believe, or this week.
This week.
I'm tripping. It's this week. Homecoming coming up this week, man. So y'all got to make sure y'all check out the website. Tune in to all the homecoming events, homecoming games. Show up to the basketball games. Show up to the baseball games. We're going to get into that real quick. And then I need some workers. We got a lot of games, and I don't have enough workers. So if y'all want to keep seeing y'allselves on this screen so y'all can go back and get y'all highlights, y'all got to send some people my way to help me work these games. All right? We didn't have nobody for the top 5. We didn't have too much. Didn't nobody send me in nothing, so I guess y'all don't want to be top 5. That's all right, though.
Somebody gonna get top 5.
Somebody gonna do something. Somebody gonna do something. But the games that we have coming up this weekend, basketball will be facing off against Texas West at Texas Wesleyan at 6 and 8 on Thursday. Friday, track and field will be headed to Lubbock at the Texas Tech Jarvis Scott Open. And they'll also be heading to the NCCAA championships for those who have qualified for that. I don't know anything about that quite yet. I'll definitely have some more information for you guys next show. They'll be headed to both of those meets Friday, Saturday. Softball will be at Southwest on Friday and Saturday, and baseball will be here first home games for baseball, so y'all know what that means. Got to go pack it out at 1 and 4 on Friday. We ain't got nothing else on Friday.
Man.
Nothing else.
Nothing else.
So you got to go to the baseball games. I'm sorry, it's mandatory. All right. And Saturday we got basketball versus USAO at 2 and 4, and baseball versus Tabor at 12 and 3. So whatever y'all want to go check out, go check it out. All right.
It's a lot of sports to watch. You're
Lot.
not gonna be bored.
Yeah.
Games coming up, man.
And then my man JP needs some help.
Thank you.
Valentine's Day coming up.
Okay.
It ain't too late to get you a girl.
Yes.
But you gonna need some money to get the girl some
That's what I'm
flowers,
saying.
man.
If you trying to go to the Cheesecake Factory, well, they don't like the Cheesecake Factory no more. I don't know what's wrong with the Cheesecake
really not
Factory.
too bougie.
Yeah. Wherever you want to
At
take
this
them.
point, you want to Chuck E. Cheese. Be happy with it.
Okay. Well, whatever y'all got to do, man. If y'all want some money, y'all
gonna
come work
cost
for me.
money,
We got a lot of games coming up this weekend, and continuing on with basketball, softball, baseball, everything. It's a lot. So y'all come get y'all some money, man, and work for me. But that's all we got for y'all this week, man. I hope y'all enjoyed it, and we'll see you guys same time next week.